ఉషోదయం ఛానల్కు స్వాగతం.
Ramayanam Part 17. You can leap to the island of Lanka. Do it now. Hanuman shook himself as if he waking from a dream. He stood up and began to expand in size. His chest filled out, his limbs pulsed with muscles. His tail waved in the air like a battle banner. He roared and thumped his chest with his fists and pounded the sands with his sturdy feet. In a flash, the great monkey had climbed to the top of the hill on the shore, and he stood there, looking out over the heaving ocean. Hanuman slapped his tail on the ground, and it resounded through the air like a whiplash. "Wait for me," he shouted to his monkey companions. "I know that I will return successful." The monkeys, large in size and powerful warriors themselves, clapped and shouted as Hanuman pressed down upon the mountain, which groaned under his weight as he prepared to leap into the open skies. He rose into the air, his arms outstretched, his legs spread out behind him, his great tail curled over his head, his eyes gleamed like stars. His body shone like a bolt of lightning as he flew upwards, piercing the clouds and disappearing from sight. Hanuman looked straight ahead as he flew, his mind focused, his heart steady. He knew he had to find an island in the middle of the vast ocean. An island with a great city that was ruled by Ravana. The Rakshasa who had adopted Sita. He felt no fear or restlessness. He was sure that he would know what to do when the time came. He flew past the moon and the planets and the past spaces where the heavenly beings lived. He flew higher than the highest mountains and mightiest clouds. He flew steadily over the vast waters with the wind, his father pushing him gently from behind. Suddenly, an enormous Rakshasi rose up from the ocean, her massive mouth wide open, her sharp teeth bared in smile. "I am Surasa," she said in a voice that boomed through the heavens. "You have to enter my mouth, monkey. That is the boon given to me by the gods, so that I'm never hungry." "I'm on a mission for Rama," replied Hanuman calmly. "Let me reach Lanka and find Sita. I promise that I will enter your mouth on my way back." "Now," shouted Surasa, churning the waves with her huge hands and feet, "I am hungry now." In the blink of an eye, Hanuman made himself as small as a fly. He flew in and out of Surasa's mouth, through her pointed teeth and around her lolling orange tongue. He stood in the air before her and bowed with his palms joined. "There, Surasa," he said, "I enter your mouth and honor the wishes of the gods. I will be on my way now." Surasa was left with her mouth hanging open, her enormous stomach empty, as the monkey, now gigantic again, flew onward. Hanuman flew lower and scorched the surface of the ocean for an island. He felt something tugging him and looked around. A monster, another huge Rakshasi, had caught hold of his shadow that had fallen on the restless water. "Now what?" he said to himself as he tried to get free. Could this be Simhika, the lion-like Rakshasi who eats creatures by swallowing their shadows? Up through the waves rose the largest thing Hanuman had ever seen in his life. Her hair was tawny, the color of a lion's mane. Her hands ended in cruel claws. Her eyes were the color of amber. Her stinking mouth was wide open, with her yellow fangs bared. Quick as flash, Hanuman entered her yawning mouth and flew down into her body. He tore up her organs and intestines and her bladder with his nails, and pounded her body with his fists. With a great hissing and sighing, like a balloon losing its air, the massive creature collapsed under the waves and sank to the bottom of the ocean, never to be seen again. Hanuman flew onward, keeping an eye on the water below him. At last, in the distance, he saw an island, dark and brooding, that pierced through the surface of the ocean. "That must be Lanka," he thought to himself. "I've certainly come far enough, about 100 yojanas, I would say." He gently landed on the forbidding island, where below the great peak that guarded its southern shore. He shrank to the size of a cat, and as the white moon rose into the sky, he crept into the shadows of the palace walls and looked for a way to enter Lanka, the great city of Ravana, the Rakshasa king. Lanka. Hanuman slipped through a crack in the city wall, carefully to stay in the shadows as the moon poured its light over the Rakshasas. He looked around him in amazement. Their towers were higher than the mountain peaks. The city walls were as thick as tree trunks. Red gold lights glowed from the windows of dark buildings. I must remember how Lanka is laid out and where the fortifications are, he told to himself. The information will be useful to Rama when we attack the city. He saw Rakshasas everywhere. The men stood strong and with large chests and long arms and sturdy legs. They fought with clubs and maces, and they carried their shields strapped across their backs. Hanuman saw Rakshasa women as well, who were beautiful and walked with ease and confidence, even though the streets were dark and narrow. The monkey crept along, making his way towards Ravana's palace, which lay at the center of the city. In a short while he came to a palace gates which were guarded by heavily armed Rakshasas. But they did not notice when a tiny monkey the size of a cat slipped past them and entered the royal enclosure. Hanuman climbed quickly to the top of the upper level so that he could survey the palace. Everywhere he looked was gold and silver and glittering jewels. The palace floor was made of crystal that gleamed like liquid moonlight. The pillars were made of beaten gold and the stairs of silver. Precious stones turned to the window panes, conches covered with silks and embroidered satins, which shone with pillars and of goose down. Lamps flickered in the corners, and tables were laid with food of all kinds: roasted meats, fragrant wines, fruits and vegetables, sweet syrups and cakes. A chill breeze blew through the palace, and Hanuman shivered. Hanuman went further into the palace and passed through the women's quarter. I wonder if Sita is here, he thought. He corrected himself as he saw Ravana's women asleep. Rama contended, Sita could never be here. She cannot be happy and sleep brimming sweetly when she is separated from Rama. There's no point of looking for her in the palace. I'm sure she has been imprisoned somewhere else, in an uncomfortable place with guards and spies all around her. Hanuman slipped out of the palace and began to explore the areas which was filled with flowering trees and fragrant bushes and lotus ponds. He saw a grove of Ashoka trees. I'm sure Sita is there, he thought as he crept forward and very quietly climbed into a nearby tree. Taking care not to disturb the branches and leaves, he hid himself among the foliage and leaned over. Hanuman saw a woman, pale and sad, her hair in a single braid, her face streaked with tears. She could hear her quiet sobs as she sat there, surrounded by fearsome Rakshasas, each one deformed and misshapen in some way, each one terrifying to behold. This gentle creature has to be Sita, he said to himself. He barely to conceal his excitement. She's the most beautiful person I have seen, even though she sits like an ordinary person. There is no doubt that she's the princess. Of course, she's pinning for Rama. I must tell her that. He's on his way to rescue her. Hanuman tossed Rama's signet ring down onto the grass in front of Sita before he showed himself to her. She looked up, startled, and was even more frightened when she saw a tiny monkey approaching her. Hanuman bowed her before Sita and said, "Have no fear, my lady. My name is Hanuman. I'm a Rama's messenger. I'm here to tell you that Rama will be here soon to rescue you. Trust me. Look, he gave me his ring to give it to you, so that you would know that I'm truly Hanuman, and not Rakshasa in disguise. I shall return to Rama and tell him that you are unharmed and waiting for you." Ah, cried Sita, just hearing the word Rama makes my heart lift. Say his name again, monkey, so that I can feel happy for a few moments. Where's my beloved Rama? Is he well? Why has he not rescued me already? What is he doing? Rama has made a pact of friendship with my master Sugriva, who called together a mighty army of monkeys, hundreds and thousands of monkeys. Now that I found you, we will attack Lanka and kill the Rakshasa king who has abducted you. An army of monkeys to kill Ravana and his warriors? Surely you are joking? Has Rama lost his senses? Whispered Sita, a shadow falling across his face. My lady, I just leaped hundreds of yojanas across the ocean to find you. This is not my real size. There are other monkeys like me who can change their shape and form as they please. We are all great warriors, and we will succeed in our mission to destroy Ravana and Lanka. I'm here as a squad to explore the city and return to Rama with details about its walls and towers and weapons and secret passages, so that we can plan our attack. I'm going to leave you now and see what I can find about the island. Stay a little longer, Hanuman. I feel Rama is close to me when you are here, begged Sita, holding out her hand toward the little monkey. I'll be back before I leave Lanka, Hanuman reassured her. I must make the most of the night so I'm not noticed, so I get inspected the city. Thanks for watching the video. Please like, share and subscribe.